We are live with Chef Charity Morgan, a hero of mine. She has a brand new book out called Unbelievably Vegan 100 Life Changing Plant Based Recipes. It's extraordinary, and you are amazing. You were just on Good Morning America. Tell us what inspired you to write this new book as a woman who has already made history in the film Game Changers, as somebody who inspired the Tennessee Titans and your husband, Derek Morgan, to go vegan.
Actually, it was you guys. It was asked, and it was asked several times after they watched the Game Changers. It got to a point where everybody was like, okay, watch the Game Changers. Now what? What do I do? How do I make the things that you made? And I felt like it needed to be a follow up from all that information and seeing all that good food. And I worked for the last 2 years on delivering this to everybody because I felt like the world needed it.
Wow. Well, the world definitely does need it. And I have to say that you were a hit on Good Morning America the other day. Let's play that clip and then talk about it.
Thank you for making this for us this morning.
Thank you so much.
And say hello to Derek for me. And everybody out there, we don't have to be.
He's around here somewhere.
He's around there somewhere. He's lucky he gets to eat the rest of the food. Hey, Derek. Good to see you, man.
That's huge. Being on Good Morning America, tell us what you made and the reaction to that.
I made everybody's number one request was, is your truffle mac and cheese going to be in the book? And the answer is yes. And I have a better answer for everyone who does not have the book yet. Not only is my truffle mac and cheese in there, I have 3 mac and cheeses in the book. And I did that, and I explained to everyone in the book how that was my number one request that NFL players wanted. Every single week, they wanted their truffle mac and cheese. But as a chef that loves creativity, I got so frustrated with making the same thing over and over. So I ventured out and I started making other flavors. And the other 2 flavors made it to the book. And that is my buffalo mac and cheese and my bacon mac and cheese.
And of course, when you say bacon, you don't mean something based from pigs. And this is the incredible breakthrough that we've had. The food has gotten so sophisticated, Charity, that literally people do taste tests and they can't tell the difference between the vegan bacon and the bacon from an animal. What are some of your favorite recipes in your book?
Oh my gosh. I love using the creativity of working with making a lobster bisque, and I make it out of these beautiful lobster mushrooms. Believe it or not, everyone's like, lobster mushrooms, what is that? Well, this is the beautiful thing about nature. A lot of nature gives us the essence of these flavors and this taste where it smells and it has the same color. It's amazing. And that is by far one of my favorites is the lobster bisque, because it's the magic trick, and it's kind of that thing that I do with people where I'm always playing tricks on you. Well, that's it. And
it looks like you're looking through your book. Can you hold up your book and show us some of the recipes?
Lobster bisque.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Yeah. Show us a few more.
So let me show you guys our favorites. It's fan favorites. This book is comprised of recipes that not only have my NFL clients, but my celebrity clients and my husband. Like, he's like, you have to have this in the book. And I'm going to show you 2. So this is, a take on, like, if you was to go to London and you go to a fish house and you'll get fish and chips. This is Derek's absolute favorite in the book. It is fish and chips, guys.
Yeah, hold up the photo. We're seeing the writing right now, but let's see the photo. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So fish and chips, there we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And they have said that you can't really tell the difference between the vegan fish and the plant-based fish now. It's gotten so sophisticated.
So sophisticated. And this one actually is made from 100% through nature. I used banana blossoms, and it has even these like stems throughout it. When you're eating it, you actually believe that it's bones in it. It's insane.
Wow. So here you are of the Game Changers fame, just on Good Morning America. You are changing the world, Charity. Tell us about, your husband did an appearance on Good Morning America at the end. The host was like, "Where's Derek?" And he came out. Just for those who don't know the whole story, and I urge everyone to watch the Game Changers. And of course, along with watching the Game Changers, order this book. The link is on the intro to this page. And congratulations, you are an editor's pick on Amazon. And so right there, you can get it tomorrow and change your life and start making these dishes in the kitchen.
Yes, and number one new release and vegan cookbook on Amazon right now.
Yes, I mean, you are changing the world, but for those few who don't know your backstory, and it is laid out in the Game Changers, tell us about you and your husband, who is an extraordinary NFL legend. The Tennessee Titans, or quite a few of them, went plant-based thanks to you.
I think it got to a point where I realized that it was a little bit of a contention every time I used the B word. And so I started leading people by just food. Hey, try this, taste this. And a lot of that inquisitive like nature came along when people saw what Derek was getting. Every day when I was sending him meals, they were like, "Oh my gosh, what are you eating? That doesn't look like what we're eating." So that roster started to grow like weekly, from 4 players to 6 players to 12 players to 18 players, just by my food. I didn't have to really talk much to them. It was leading by the food. And then once in a while, I'll get those guys that would get real inquisitive about what is vegan and why this and why that. And they just felt like they couldn't meet a certain standard. So I was there to help them and to give them their kind of a new sense on what is going into your body and focus on the food. And once you can get people to focus on taste and food, they forget about everything else. And we're all going towards the same goals. And so many chickens, so many cows, so many pigs we saved by these guys just eating vegan throughout their seasons.
Well, of course, your husband is uh, uh, a leading example of fitness. So his musculature, his energy, his recovery time, how did that all work after you started feeding him plant-based?
Everything went up. Everything went up. Even if you guys saw in the Game Changers, Derek spoke about him even getting blood work, and they compared his blood work compared to the previous year to the year that he went plant-based. All of his inflammation markers went down. My husband had hereditary high blood pressure. Had high blood pressure at 20 in the NFL, like when he first got to the NFL. And people always believe that, oh, you can't reverse these things. When he went plant-based and he got his blood work back, those were the things that were obsolete on his blood work, was his high blood pressure, his inflammation markers. These are things that we keep around to prove to people that it is these ailments and things that you have in your life is proven by what you're eating.
So we are speaking with celebrity chef Charity Morgan, who has an extraordinary new book. I urge everybody to order it. I can't wait. It is unbelievably vegan, 100 plus life-changing plant-based recipes. It is the editor's pick on Amazon, and it is a best-selling book. You are changing the world. it's interesting because I just interviewed Tracy McWhirter, and in fact, on our new streaming network, we are profiling her, and we are talking about how African American women are now the leading force of change for veganism. Tracy said 3% of Americans consider themselves plant-based, 8% of African Americans consider themselves plant-based, and of those 8%, a large percentage of plurality are women. So where do you see that? You are amongst those leaders. You are literally changing the way America eats.
I think it had to happen. It's all in God's timing. It's just a divine, it's just, I can't even explain to you how this happened, because if I told everybody where I was a year before that, and if I knew I would be in this position, I would say, you guys are all crazy. Stop smoking whatever you're smoking. But I just really believe that God has a timing on certain things, and you watch what you pray for, because this was actually something I prayed for. And we have to evolve as a society, as our within our own communities, and people are realizing that the old way of doing things are not working, and it's up to us to make these changes. And with where veganism and plant-based food is right now, there's no sacrifice. Everybody always felt like it was going to be a sacrifice with the food. Oh, I'm not going to like this. I won't be able to have my grandmother's so and so. I mean, I'm in the book making my grandmother's Creole gumbo. I mean, there gets no epitome of hearty meat, seafood recipes other than a gumbo in my world. So I'm just here to debunk a lot of the myths about food and taste and the pleasures you get out of it.
So do you see the world changing? You have
I
a
do.
great bird's eye view of what's happening, because you're not in the vegan bubble per se. You're dealing with NFL players. And so if the titans of health and fitness can do this, then it would seem everybody could do it.
Yes, because as we could see, as the statistics and everybody's mindset on where they thought vegans were and what it looked like to be a vegan, it wasn't something where you would see a 300-pound NFL player. So the more you see men and that represent masculinity and performance and all these wonderful accolades, the more you would see people doing it, because it's like, if he can do it and he's 300 pounds and has to run up against other 300-pound athletes, then I could do it in my day-to-day where I don't have to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So what's next? It's hard to ask that question because you just came out with this incredible book, but you are such a force and you are doing so much. I'm sure you have a few other things up your celebrity vegan chef sleeve.
Oh, absolutely. I have so many things. You know how this works. You guys are just seeing the works, but people don't understand how many years it takes to write a cookbook, just like how long it took you to do your own TV show and all these things. You're seeing, the glory of it, but there's so many things going on in the background, and I'm working on a couple, and some will be announced as early as February, hopefully, to where I can be in more homes and teaching everyone how to do this.
Well, that sounds very exciting, and you know how to tease, that's for sure. Let me play one more time your appearance on Good Morning America, and we'll chat a little bit about that.
Thank you for making this for us this morning.
Thank you so much.
And say hello to Derek for me. And everybody out there, we don't have to be.
He's around here somewhere.
He's around there somewhere. He's lucky he gets to eat the rest of the food. Hey, Derek, good to see you, man.
So that was great. I mean, it's a breakthrough to get plant-based cooking on mainstream television. And sometimes it requires a linebacker and a quarterback throwing a Hail Mary pass, but you did it. And for that, I say congrats. But what a wonderful reception you got. That's a breakthrough in itself.
Yes. And it's showing people are more receptive to this. People want answers. I mean, you probably wouldn't have never heard of anyone being on GMA years ago, but now it is mainstream. There's no secret. The secret's out. Athletes are chatting about it. Hey, this is my secret weapon. You have so many elite athletes talking about it. There's a change and it's a shift in how we see food. We want to be of that group where we are responsible with teaching people where does their food come from, and food can be healthy and look a little bit different from what you not look but just be a little bit different. That's why I always tell people, start with your favorites when you're wanting to cook. Start with your favorites. Don't change how you eat, just change the ingredients.
Absolutely. And I do agree that it has become so much more mainstream. And I think one of the big breakthroughs was the Beyond Meat going public. I personally experienced a lot of people all of a sudden, it was sort of establishment. And then you had Oatly going public and the Game Changers, these documentaries, incredible. I think seeing a huge percentage of the Tennessee Titans sitting down to a fabulous vegan meal while you were cooking and serving them. And it was mouth-watering. I remember that scene. They're all, I think, outside at a big table, and the food looked just so darn good. You just want to jump through the screen and eat it. What was the reaction to the Game Changers amongst people who are not necessarily plant-based already, but who are, let's say, football fans? Can you give me a sense of how, like, Derek's fan base reacted?
I love speaking about this. It's actually one of the things that like tugged on my heartstrings the most, because I didn't realize what I was doing and the impact that what I do every day and what's common sense to me wasn't common to everybody. The most beautiful message, and I still get them to this day. I get them almost daily, where you will find husbands or girlfriends and wives that they've been in relationships. I'll give you a particular one. This woman emailed me and said, I've been vegan for 15 years, but my husband that I've been married to for 10 years would have never considered becoming vegan or even trying it until they saw you and your husband on the Game Changers.
Wow. Well, that is incredible. Continue on. Continue on.
So it's like those things where you are able to get into homes and hearts where people thought that it would never exist. People are now open to it. And the Game Changers was such a great platform and showing that. And then, not to mention the people that, you either watched it with your husband or your wife, and the number one message was, I don't remember much about the movie, but I do remember that the food and you cooking, you stole the show. And so I'm here to tell everybody, all those recipes are in my book. Every recipe that I cooked for the Game Changers is in the book. And I'm giving to you guys all of my tips, all of my secrets, and showing people how to get creative with the most simplest swaps in your daily life.
It's so amazing. And what I love is your attitude. I tell everybody this is the most fun lifestyle. It is the happiest lifestyle. There is more versatility in plant-based cooking than in any other kind of cooking, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of vegetables, legumes, grains, fruits, and nuts. How did you stretch to the point where you've got these now 100 life-changing vegan recipes in your book? Where did you find yourself going? I mean, obviously, you didn't come up with them all at once. Like, how did you discover, for example, using mushrooms to create a lobster taste?
I love mushrooms, and I have actually a mushroom purveyor in Nashville. He grows tons of mushrooms. He has a mushroom house. And then I always knew about, in the back of my mind, about mushrooms that I learned from culinary school. And it came back up, and I was like, lobster mushrooms. All right, let me order some of those and see what I could do with those. And I remember the day, it was like around a winter day, and I was like, oh, I just want a lobster bisque. And I'm like, I'm going to create it. Let's create it. And I had a lobster bisque recipe that I created when I was in culinary school. I used everything. I used everything in there. I used the sherry wine. I used all these flavors that you normally would have in a lobster bisque. And I just changed out two of those ingredients. Instead of lobsters, I used lobster mushrooms. And instead of heavy cream, in my book, I have a plant-based heavy cream that I use for making a homemade caramel. I use it all throughout the book. And I put that together and I was like, I'm on to something. And I made it one more time after that to perfect it a little bit more. And that's what made the book.
Maybe we have to start calling you celebrity inventor, Charity Morgan, because you are inventing these new ways to replicate comfort food, traditional dishes that involve animals and making them plant-based. Can you give me another example? When you were on Good Morning America, you made the mac and cheese, and of course, they said, well, this isn't cheese, so what is it? And you said cashews. That is something most people who are plant-based know, that cashews is one of the easiest ways to make vegan cheese, but the general public doesn't know it. So
Yeah.
can you give me some other examples of, in your book, dishes that you have really transformed the concept of, like a lobster bisque?
I'll give you another one that blew my editor's socks off. So whenever you're making a homemade Caesar, and Caesars are my favorite and always been my favorite salad, and I couldn't see life without it. So I created, sometimes in culinary school you would have a anchovy paste, and you could just, come in jars if you didn't have the full fillets of anchovies. I created an anchovy paste by using capers, and you could use nori, but I like using kelp powder because it's really fine. And then when you mash it up together with the capers and the caper brine, it's this briny, fishy anchovy paste, and it's unbelievable. It's one of my favorite salads in the book. Again, the things that are fan favorites you'll see, because I don't only have one of them. I usually have 2 or 3 recipes of it. It's such a favorite of all of my clients that I made a traditional Caesar. I have a Creole Caesar in there that's more a take on a Louisiana style with cornbread croutons. And then I have a Fiesta one that has fried tortilla chips, and it has some black bean and it has corn. It's so fun what I do. I mean, I feel like every day I'm doing a passion project.
Well, one thing that a lot of people may not be aware of is you are Le Cordon Bleu trained. So you didn't just pop out of bed one day and say, oh, I'm going to be a vegan chef. You are highly trained. How did that help you be sort of this game changer in transforming meat, fish dishes to plant-based?
Truth be told, is that's why I have so much, people have compassion for animals, and I feel like that can be many people's superpower. But my superpower is compassion for humans. I really love people. I love helping people. I'm helping people daily on text for free. Like, I'm just like, do this, do this. I'm in my DMs. And when I went plant-based, I struggled. I really struggled. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, what is happening? I'm a chef. Why am I struggling with this? When I had that breakthrough of what I needed to do to really succeed, I made a promise that I'm going to do this to inspire more people. I'm going to help them. I'm going to hold their hand. My job is not to talk about veganism. My job is not to talk about plant-based. My job is to inspire you, because if I can inspire you and empower you, I can get you to go almost anywhere we want to take you, or wherever you want to go, because that empowerment is what we're lacking right now. People are trying to be too preachy about the vegan movement or the plant-based movement, and they're forgetting that these people are intimidated. They're scared. Some people have asked me, I want to go plant-based, but I've never stepped into a kitchen. We're not factoring in all these things when we're talking about, going plant-based or vegan. So I'm here to show you the way, because I had a struggle going plant-based. Because when you go through culinary school, you get out with all these rules, what you're not supposed to do. God forbid, that's not how you make a bechamel. A bechamel is not made that way, and you have to use heavy cream. I had to literally clear my palate of those things. Like, nope, we're not going by those rules. We're going to create and break all those rules and create our own.
So that is extremely informative because it's like Picasso. He knew the traditional way to do painting. He knew perspective. He could do that, but then he broke the rules. You sort of have to know the rules in order to effectively break the rules. Would you consider yourself the abstract impressionist Picasso of the Le Cordon Bleu school?
Bring it on. I like to break rules. I'm a rebel.
So, I want to get like one or two more. I know you're a very busy lady, but one or two more examples of these kinds of foods where people say I could never live without, and I think that is really the key. There are some
Mhm.
things I could never live without. Like for me, chocolate. I say I can live without it. I try for a couple of days, but I can't live without chocolate. So,
Let me
uh,
tell you something.
yeah,
So,
okay.
I got this from, and I get inspiration from many things, but most of my inspiration come from my clients where they're just like, I haven't had this, and could you veganize this? And at the time that I created this, Miley Cyrus told me that the number one thing that she missed about being vegan was that she hasn't had a chicken and dumpling in 4 years. And that was her absolute favorite thing that she loved growing up. And the way that I understand how food works, I'm like, that's not a hard one to create because I already had a biscuit recipe. So I created this chicken and dumplings recipe right here. I created this for Miley Cyrus to where she loved it so much that she literally was like, "You're cooking for my wedding and you're making chicken and dumplings."
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Oh, that is like my favorite story. Truly, truly. Um, do you have one more or should we call it a day?
No, let me give you guys some things that really people want to talk about, and that is the dessert chapter. I think it's really cool that people could look and thumb through the book and understand that I'm covering every ground that you could ever think of, from small snacks to fundamentals of homemade mayonnaise and all the way to like how crowd pleasing favorites. My book actually has football themes. So like the kickoff is breakfast, and when you get to crowd pleasing favorites, that's things that you can make for parties and if you have people coming over. But then I call my dessert chapter is it's the victory chapter, and I'm making things like salted caramel crisp. That this was actually one of my NFL players' very favorite desserts, and I had to make sure I incorporated that in the book along with the peanut butter chocolate cheesecake that you saw from the Game Changers.
Okay, I am making that. That is like a direct hit. So this is what I'm starting to see. Everybody's going to find their favorite comfort food in this book, veganized. It's absolutely extraordinary. Uh, Chef Charity Morgan, you are my hero. Okay. I mean, you are changing the world. You are saving the world. What you're doing is not just extraordinary, but it's fun. It's fun. This is a joyous adventure. So, final thoughts before we wrap up. What is your message to the folks out there?
My message is, even if this is the first time that you've thought about, or even it's been in the back of your mind that maybe you want to try to go vegan or you want to try plant-based, I truly believe there's no thing as a one size fits all for everybody. I'm here to inspire you, whether it's just try one recipe of mine or You want to try a plant-based meal once a week, and then we grow that to once a day. I'm here to meet you where you are, because I don't want you to get intimidated and you try to go cold turkey and you're like, okay, I did that and I'm never doing it again. In the beginning of my book, I talk about these things. I give you all the tools. I show you how to transition, because there's a secret that many people don't know, is that I tried to go plant-based back in 2015 and I failed miserably. So I used all my failures to show you guys what not to do. And I was able to apply that to when I went plant-based again in 2017 with much success.
Charity Morgan, thank you so much. Everybody at home, get this extraordinary book, Unbelievably Vegan, 100 plus life-changing plant-based recipes. I can't wait to try them. Please come back soon. Thank you, Charity Morgan, and say hi to Derek.
I will. Thank you, guys. Grab the book.
Woo!